Right, welcome to the Top Flight Show. So, I'm Chris. We've got Rich and Cameron here, and we're going to talk about top flight races in Newcastle 10k.
The boys are back.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Desperate times, desperate measures. Drafted us in again.
Yeah, so basically, Top Flight series, we've RunThrough have announced a huge money incentive top flight races, which basically we're trying to get a very high level of competition for the top runners in the UK. Try to attract them in with big prize money, try to get super fast, flat, where possible races, really high level of competition, rewarding the runners for like great performances. And we're hoping the knock-on effect of that is like the next chunk of runners behind that get inspired, get involved, and we have a series of events which have got a really good strength in depth, really good sharp end, and like PBs down the field. And people can engage in the whole overall series and race by race. So that's the overall concept.
Yeah. No, I'm sure Cam has as well, but when you sent us over this stuff and looked at it, I was pretty sort of bowled over to start with it. Oh, they've actually got something like this, because it's something that we probably spoke about years ago, and like maybe athletes in the community as well saying, oh God, wouldn't it be good if there was a league, a point structure, and you'd get points mean prizes almost. And now to finally see something like that on paper, it's refreshing. It looks mint.
It's exciting. I think there's nothing else quite like it in the UK at the moment, is there? So it's a first, and I'm sure athletes will be excited to lace it up and race for some prize money. And the prize money, which I'm sure we'll get onto pretty soon, is pretty impressive too, isn't it? So it's great that RunThrough have managed to allow some and secure some funding for that. So a big shout out to them. Yeah,
I think it's good that you've got a company like RunThrough doing what they've done down south and elsewhere in other regions in the UK, and you see that spreading up here with something like this, you think, well, at least it's in good hands as well. It is. It's good stuff.
Like obviously I've led the events from the Northeast base and started basically with the Quayside 5k and then Jarrow 10k, and then we wanted to just like roll that concept out. So with the Top Flight series, we've got one race a month roughly. It had to sort of fit in with the races that we already had existing out there, and chose the race that was best fit that month. So is it fast and flat, or is it a really big race? So for example, like Warrington last year, we had 6,000 runners. That was the world's first free to enter chip timed road race.
All right.
And like 6,000 runners, that's a huge race. But we didn't have like an elite end, a sharp end, which I felt that was missing. So to have a race like that on the programme is great. We've got Battersea in there a few times. Well, everybody knows in the London area and the South area, Battersea Park is very flat.
Yeah, it's flat as a pancake, isn't it? It's fast as well. And it's central, and London always attracts big fields, and it always attracts high quality elite fields, because people from down the south, it's easy to get to. The atmosphere is always very exciting. So I think, I'm looking forward to that one. I think that's definitely going to be a big one. And I think you've done a great job, Chris.
Yeah, oh well, cheers. Well, we've got like trying to spread it across the country. So we've got the three races that are in Battersea. We then try to spread like Midlands, North, and the Northeast as well. So we're trying to geographically spread it where we've already got events. Yeah. It's something that we could like look at next year. Like, might some of the venues change? Could we all RunThrough putting on a different event that is actually even better suited at the right time of the year and stuff like that? So something that we could look at, like revamping every year. But for now, we chose the events that we felt were like best fit, and hopefully produces a really competitive like whole series of events.
Can I say as well, I mean, when you look at it, you've got one race that's going to attract a high field per month throughout the year. The good thing about that is that everyone's got different goals. Well, not everyone, but there's always different races throughout the calendar, series of races, whether it be people maybe racing cross country and maybe aiming for the nationals in February, or they may be aiming for world cross country trials, or then some people may be aiming for track. So it gives an opportunity for everyone to sort of participate in the series throughout the year at different points, depending on their calendar, their race calendar. So I think that's one of the main things that's good.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that actually. I never thought of that. But getting like quality races, like one pretty much a month,
gives you plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well,
and
so.
you know what it's like from when you're running yourself. You might get like that one fast race that's on a good course that you're going to target, and then for whatever reason it doesn't work out. But then you're like sort of left in no man's land. Well, where am I going to go next? What am I going to do now? Whereas with that, yeah, it's opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it's a good point that Cam. I never thought of it like that.
I'm running indoors now, and trying to get a good quality, high quality race it's pretty tough over the next few months. So racing on the roads here, if I was going to race on the roads, I've got a big selection of races I can choose from, and you always know that when you turn up, you're going to have a decent crop of people. So I think that's one of the main things.
Yeah, exactly. And not only is it sort of spread geographically and spread across the year, we've added 5Ks, 10Ks and half marathons in there. So we're trying to go across like the whole spectrum of the endurance scene. So you could get a case where somebody who's a really good 5K runner focuses on the 5K events, picks up quite a few points. Somebody who's a half marathon runner picks up quite a few points, and then they would have to meet in the middle at the series finale. So just to clarify as well, on the overall series, there's 12 races, but it's your best 3 scores that count.
Right.
So the point system people can have a look at, and it goes from 25 points down to 1 for the top 10 in the same way that Formula 1 does. So if you won 3 races, you would have 75 points.
Yeah.
You could race all 12 if you wanted, and great, please do that. But it's unrealistic to think people would be able to do more than that when the season is so busy, and you have like warm weather training to factor in, like other championship races and stuff, and people get injured, come in and out of form. But doing 3 is realistic, because especially when the series finale is at Ribble Valley, which is the very last weekend of the year, like you've got to basically have done a minimum of 2 and then get to Ribble Valley, and that's going to be the decider. So if there is any tie on points, it's the finishing order at Ribble Valley.
But you know what Ribble Valley's like as well, like in terms of a race, like everyone targets Ribble Valley, all like, you know, you get good quality fields there. So if you're going to finish on anything anyway, it's a great 10K just to be going to, that you're probably going to have penciled in your calendar anyway, regardless whether you're a 5K, 1500 metre runner in the summer or what. The amount of like sort of width of athletic competitors that race attracts anyway, it's the perfect one to have the finale on. So you box off a couple of others early on in the year or whenever you want, then you know, right, well, I'm going to target Ribble Valley, but actually I've got this in the back of my mind as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously the 10K in December, it doesn't matter what event you've done. If you've done track or you're doing cross country or you're a road runner, in December everybody's doing a similar type of training. So your track runners will be stepping up to run a 10K, but also even people who've done the marathon are like sort of stepping down to try and keep some speed in over the winter. So yeah, Ribble Valley's always attracted a really, really good field. So this will just make it even more, because there's going to be that whole like series element of it where people are turning up to even get the money for the like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th place. So
just adds another element to that race as well, doesn't it? Imagine you've got an elite men's and women's field, and there's a few of them tied on that like first place position. Like, that's just going to add something extra to that race anyway. So yeah, it's a win. It's a win-win.
I mean, you could get it where somebody's won 3 races before Ribble Valley, and somebody's won 2 races going into Ribble Valley, and it means if they won it at Ribble Valley, they would actually win the overall series. And the other person just needs to finish ahead of them. Like irrespective.
That's where
of
the excitement builds, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's racing rather than, you know, just going for time as well. It implements that. You know, people are always going to want to run fast times, especially at Ribble Valley.
Yeah.
But if you're it's rare nowadays that you get a chance, especially on road races, to just purely focus on racing for money and racing and not be sort of stretched out straight away for time.
Yeah. Also, like we've got the race I'll click on it. We've got the overall prize fund, which basically is £1,000 down to 100 for 10th for the overall series, and you're picking up your points. That basically means if you turn up at one of the races that we think is potential to be a fast course, but it's like bad weather, and you don't get the time that you wanted, you would still be picking up the points. Yeah. So you've got that like points element as well as the like individual on the day time element. So we're trying to put something in for like cater for every situation, really.
Yeah.
Just to like continue a narrative. And like event by event, there is an individual prize structure for every event. So each event is getting attention on its own, and the series overall is also getting attention. So, yeah.
There's always that incentive, isn't there? Like every event's going to have prize money. So it doesn't matter if it's, obviously the end result, you get the payday at the end of the series, but you could go out and run pretty well and pretty decent throughout every race that you run, and you still got that incentive at the end of it to still get some prize money, even rather than having to wait at the end of the series, which you kind of would expect a lot of race series to sort of add points on, and you get them. If you look at maybe let's say the UK Cross Challenge, that's quite similar, right? Where you you collect points, and then at the end of it you get a payment at the end of it, but it's not, the incentive maybe isn't there at every race.
Yeah, I guess you haven't got the times on the cross country, so you can't get the bonuses
that
we will be paying out on the track.
Yeah.
On the road. So for every individual race we've got, there's a £200 for winning.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, first down to 8th, as long as you've ran the time that we're classing as like the top flight bar time, as long as you're under that, you'll trigger your payment for the first down to 8th. And then for the winners, they've also got record bonuses that they can go for, which some of them are really hard and some of them aren't as hard. But like obviously like a run-through course record, if it's a brand new course like Newcastle, we still want to have a course record bonus, so we've set like 29.30 for 10k.
Yeah.
So if you win the race and you're under 29.30, we'll also pay out the course record because we want to incentivise it.
Yeah. I think when you sent over the sort of the prize incentives, the thing that I clocked that I thought was very sort of apt to the Newcastle 10k was your UK leading 10k time, but this race is getting hosted on the 20th of January. So we've had, 20 days of racing in between. Like, what is that time going to be? It's good. It's probably going to go on that day. Someone's going to get that. Someone's going to bag that cash.
You'd like
for
to
that.
think that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't know, Chris, you might have looked at results or whatever's been going on, but I don't know of any like fast 10Ks that have been knocked out in the past few days, or are going to be knocked out before then.
Yeah, so that's one of the, I guess, the bonuses of coming to Newcastle is that UK lead is just, that £200 bonus is like there for the taking.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with the field we've got. I mean, we'll get onto that, but the field's not shabby, is it?
Don't even know if there is a significant race between now and then. Obviously, the first weekend in January was pretty quiet. And at the time of us recording this, which is like within 2 weeks of the race, there wasn't even a time on Power of 10 for the fastest in the country because obviously the results hadn't been processed yet. But it's a Saturday morning race as well, which also gives a little advantage because I've said, like, it's the UK lead at the time of the race. So 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. Even if there was other races that weekend, they're going to be on a Sunday. So, it's a great opportunity to, get that extra bonus added on there.
Bag yourself an extra 200.
Tell you what, you have a good day there. You're taking on some cash.
I mean, if somebody did come and absolutely romp it and break Emil Caressa's run-through record on Newcastle Day, then that would be, I think, 1,350 quid. So, there's a big opportunity.
Absolutely.
But on a fast course as well, so...
Yeah, running under 28.14 is obviously incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that's an insane record on the road. But you just don't know who's going to turn up on the day. Well, we have an idea, but you don't know what kind of performances people are going to knock out on the day. And we know from looking at the area and the course of how quick it is going to be anyway. Like, it is a quick course. There's no denying that. There's no getting out of it. It's going to be a fast course.
Yeah, let's just say, though, on the men's side, if somebody wins Newcastle 10k under 29.30, and on the women's side, if somebody wins under 32.45, that's 650 quid.
Yeah.
That's good.
If they're also UK lead, that could be 850 quid each.
Yeah.
It's just a massive, massive opportunity on such a fast course. Obviously, we can't totally predict the weather, and it's the UK winter. Yeah. But the course is fast.
Mm-hmm. It's the key as well, as in what we've just said, though. It's January now. When it's not November, where people are still building up into the season, people are starting to show the cards now, aren't they? So you've got important races are coming around the corner, whether it be cross country, roads, or whether it be track. I mean, when you get past sort of like Christmas time, it's almost like a home straight to the outdoor track.
Yeah,
I get really
you're
for
right.
10k runners. So people are starting to get into some decent shape now, starting to show the form. So it'll be good to see. I think that you'll definitely see some big performances on the day off the back of that.
Yeah, and even like athletes that have targeted something, say before Christmas, like Eurocross, they've had a little bit of time off, but then they're going to be building back up, and then actually, you know, that little downtime after Eurocross, then another good month that had a bit of time off over Christmas and grafting through there.
Yeah,
you're going to have loads of people coming at it from different angles, but like you said, it's a really good time to have a race like this, I think.
Yeah, I just didn't think there was anything in January. There was nothing that was like stand out, so it was just an easy date.
Yeah.
In terms of the athletics calendar, especially within the Northeast, there's never like easy dates to find to get city centre road closed and stuff. But it was a good date for the athletics calendar. So I was like, there's nobody in this area would have an opportunity of racing a fast 10k in this.
I mean, on the best of days, even to be honest, like most of the time, I mean, it's rare that we get an opportunity in the Northeast to have big races at full stop. Never mind in January where there's limited races anywhere. Even you've only got one sort of thing that I can think of off the top of my head, the Northern Cross Country champs. That's it, really. Nothing on the road.
Yeah. That's totally right. That I think back to like years gone by. There was nothing like this really. Like you had your there was this sort of the old standard races that were there and available, but like ones that were just geared to fast performances. We had an out like that. In the
what was it?
Northeast.
It was like the Cathedral Relays.
Yeah.
Max Colby used to
organise.
Yeah. Did you do that a few times?
Yeah.
I remember racing you once on there, Chris.
Yeah, I think I got a few fastest legs, but I think you were second that day as well.
Get change temperature.
Yeah, so I've stuck the course up there now. Obviously, it's the one that we've got. The Strava map highlights the Gregs, obviously, on the course. But yeah, the course, it starts on the road next to Newcastle Law Courts, and then it just heads basically in a straight line for 2.5k, and then turn point at the end, 2.5k straight. But when you're going down that road, it's basically a massive wall on one side, and then a row of trees on the other side. So it's parallel to the Quayside 5k where Scott Beatty ran 13:45 in August, but it's way more sheltered because that's like alongside the river and you get the wind. This is like
on the right hand side of that on the way out. So
it's
sheltered on both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sheltered on both sides, and then when you come to do the second lap, instead of doing like a hard 180 turn, I've got you doing like a sweeping left, like round sort of thing. So
keeping
that it's not
momentum
hard test. Yeah, and then just to try and like prioritise the top flight race sort of integrity in terms of like we want people to be able to get fast times. Therefore, if it's a 2-lap course, we don't want people to have to be overtaken. So the A race starts at 9. The B race starts at 9:25. So the A race, the tail end of the A is already on the second lap. Then the B race starts. So they'll filter in behind, but the A race gets a total free hit on the course. So obviously when you're doing like a 2-lapper, if you didn't do that, if you're doing 2-lapping, you're going to have some sort of overtaken. Also, if you're doing like out and backs, you're reducing the capacity of the road. But like for a 10k race, I'm only shutting like 1.5 miles of road, so that was a lot easier to get signed off. So it's 1.5 miles of like the flattest road that I could. If you actually extended the course at either end, you'd be going uphill. So you would be sort of defeating the object. And part of the thing for when looking for courses, not every course we've got in the series is totally flat and fast, like I said, because some of them are just like big events that you can still run fast on. But the ones where it's geared towards like a super fast time like this, I wanted the courses to be like record legal. So if somebody does come and run really fast, nobody's going to question these times. Like we do get a little bit cheeky at the start, and it's a little bit of a roll downhill, but it's only like a 3-meter drop. So you're allowed to drop 1 meter in every K. So a 10k you could drop up to 10 meters, and we drop 3. There are some courses that like drop way more than that, and they still like count statistically. but they wouldn't count for like record purposes.
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to go down that route. I wanted to keep it like within the rules, but obviously take as much advantage as you can. So if you can get a little bit of downhill start, great, and if you can keep it as flat as possible and stuff, then obviously go that direction.
What I like about the structure that you've done, it's only just dawned on me there when you mentioned it, that you've got, and well, I do like the idea of the Greg's man. I like the fact that you've got an A and a B race, because I think that, you know, like as sort of like younger athletes, like they might be in the B race, but being up in the front in that kind of race and, you know, finishing second, third or winning the B race, that gives something to them anyway, like so that they're not just running a 10k and they finish like 70th or whatever.
It builds confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. So for the younger ones, but then even like your athletes, like your local athletes that might be a bit older, that have, you know, training like day in, day out, they come, they turn up, oh, I won the B race. Like that's a good, I think that's a good thing. But then also, it's like you say, it gives the emphasis, like at the beginning, the elites have just got that run at that cost. The A race has got the run at that cost, both men and women.
Yeah, so the A's got the free hit. And then obviously the B race, we've used that concept in the Quayside 5k, which was like, it was a safety decision at first, but what you've said came to fruition there. Like there was people in the B race who, I said, if you finish in the top 3 in the B race, you've got free entry to next year. And some people who are borderline, like, oh, should I go in the A or the B? They opted to go in the B race, which had the live stream, and it was a really competitive race at the front end. And actually, the top 15 or 20 like smashed the PBs in the B race because they'd never been in that position where they were actually involved in a proper ding-dong battle race that you would only get if you were at the sharp end. And realistically, if you're like a 19, 20-minute 5k runner, you're never going to experience that unless you get this like B race situation. Yeah. So the same here, if you're a 40-minute, on the verge of 40-minute 10k runner, you're never really going to be in a battle at the front of a massive race with that sort of opportunity.
Yeah,
so
changes things so much for them.
Yeah, it will totally change their perception and their like outlook on racing, because they'll be used to running and going into a race where you just get dragged around or you're just involved in the masses. Yeah. This is going to be a different experience.
It's a different concept when you're racing at the front of a race and you're tossing and turning, switching positions, sort of tucking yourself in, preparing for maybe a kick. That's a completely different concept to say if you're at the back end of an A race and you're kind of jumping on. Yeah. Yes, you might run yourself in, like run your socks off and run a fast time, but sometimes it is nice to get in amongst it and sort of get in at the front of a race and be competitive. Like you say, it builds your confidence more than anything, and it prepares you again if you're going to jump back in the A race again after that. Then great, but I think that's a great idea.
There's something about that like feel of race and where you're not comfortable but you're competitive with a group of other people, then you start thinking, well, how am I going to win this? Like that feeling is like,
how rare is that now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that is rare,
exactly.
Isn't it?
That's what I mean. So for these ones that have probably never had that before, like it's got all that's going to go through their mind is like, this is so like unnatural to me, but what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to go with this? Like, you can't beat that feeling, I don't think.
No, I agree. I think it's because we're so time orientated as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that time, the incentives, hence the A race, the boys at the front have time incentives, but then they also are going to be racing it like we're talking about now. And like, I just had this last week, the weekend just gone, I finally got back racing again. I wasn't bothered about being in the A race. I didn't want to be, because I just wanted to get back into it, enjoy, and actually race the race. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't fixated on times. The pacemaker dropped out. It was a BMC. And normally, I'm sure you boys have raced BMCs. You get to the front of the race, everyone follows the pacemaker. It didn't work out like that. So people decided, you know what, we're just going to race it. Loved it. So,
yeah, I had the same. Like, obviously, I done years of BMCs, and like, if you didn't see your name on the A race at the Grand Prix, you would be like, oh, why have I not got in that race? But obviously everybody else wanted to be in there as well. And sometimes if you were like in the middle of the season and the ball was rolling, you might like email and say, oh, if anybody drops out, I'm actually going pretty well. Like, can you put me in?
If anyone drops out, I'm in 3:33 shape.
yeah. Is that what you put in there? Yeah.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
So
I get tired 3:29.
You wouldn't want. I always thought that you wouldn't want to like use up too many of your lives, so you would only say that if you were like confident of doing it. And usually if ever I got put up a race, I actually always finish like at least mid-pack. It's hard in the BMCs. If you get put in the A race and you finish like last, you've probably still had quite a good run. But every now and again, or if you'd had like an injury or something wasn't going right, and they put me maybe in this. I remember once getting put in like the C race at Solihull. In my head, I was like, should really be in the A here, but I didn't say anything about it. I was like, no, I'm just going there, and I just sat and did a basically sick kick, won. Makes a great picture for me, like Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, but just talking about that there, you're like talking about as if that was such like one of your best races, or you felt like it probably was one of your best races because you weren't worried about jumping in and coming 70th and getting dragged around to fast time. You walk away, be beat. But there's nothing like the adrenaline of being at the front of a race and racing it. Like it you can't compare it.
Yeah, you come away like so more confident from that. Yeah. Then I was like ready to get in the A races again.
Yeah. You identify more weaknesses in yourself as well, I think, when you kind of tactically at the front trying to race and learn more about it. And it is rare nowadays, and it would be nice to see more other races implement that as well, in my opinion. Yeah,
and actually, like going back quite a few years, like our old coach Lindsay, he really identified Jake Whiteman as the best of the UK lot, like years and years and years ago, because he used to keep racing like 800 metres at the BMC and he would just keep winning. Yeah. And he kept saying, hey, he always races well, he always goes out and wins. Yeah. And then he's carried that on, and like every year he's got better. And he started then, even I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, he did it like Oslo Diamond League. And
I remember that.
He's a real deal now, but he raced the same there as he was racing at like the Oxford BMC like 5 years earlier. Yeah. So it definitely is a skill that like maybe a lot of people dismiss and just focus too much on like getting in, getting the time, getting dragged around, which is also good. But yeah, that extra element.
There's a time and a place, though, isn't there? Like,
that's
absolutely. The beauty of having the option. So.
And I think you're right in what you say. Like, you forget you race to win. Really, the times like they'll come when they're ready to, but it's almost a bit of a forgotten art sometimes. I think that's why you always see like the Americans doing well, because they're just racing on the circuit all the time and they know how to race well. It's not all about times, whereas I feel like I've certainly been, guilty of it. You just become obsessed with getting to a race. I just want to run that time. It doesn't matter where I finish, as long as I run that time, that's good. When actually should be thinking, I'll win the race and I'll see what time I get at the end of it.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, like harking back onto this whole series thing. Every race by race we've got the time bonuses, but then also there's the points.
Exactly, so you've captured both elements of it there. So all right, you don't run a quick time, but you won the race, so you get maximum points there.
And it makes better for viewing as well. I mean, is this going to be live streamed?
Yeah. So we've got the live stream. You two are coming in to commentate, so
absolutely
everybody will have to tune in for that. But I watch a lot of cycling as well, and I see this happening on like Eurosport with the Tour de France and the other races like that, where there's a race within a race. You can sit and watch like 6 hours commentary where the guys are just talking all day, and you basically know every guy's backstory and like all these little races within a race every day going on and on. Like that doesn't happen in athletics commentary, but it should do.
Yeah, and it's trying to find out as well. I mean, last time was the first time I'd done something like that, to be fair, so I was a little bit rusty, but I was trying.
You were good. You were great. You were great. You're going to teach me how to do it.
You're trying to like implement everybody's like backstory, and I was trying to give as much background as possible. Not even to the guys that just. I mean, the camera was obviously on Callum a lot because he was miles ahead, but it was great to be able to like put other people's names out there who maybe don't normally get mentioned and be able to implement them. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think looking at this one, like from both the fields that you've showed us, I feel like it'll probably be a different race to Jarrow.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we may as well start off and get the ball running with Callum. I mean, clearly in very good form, straight off the back of a run for GB at the European Cross Country Championships. Yeah. Placed very well there, placed very highly. Again, also very highly at the trials in Liverpool. Coached by Alan Story. Alan wouldn't get him out racing if he didn't think he was in good nick.
Yeah, so Callum took a bit of a break after the Europeans, and obviously big win at Jarrow and other big wins. He's another one he's won a lot of the big races in the Northeast, and he's performed well on the cross country. Yeah. And then he's took a bit of a break. So at first he was unsure whether he was going to run because he said that he needed a break mentally after the European cross.
Or is this late last year when you spoke to him about it?
Yeah, and then he said, like, yeah, he's ready. So if he's on the start line, he's going to be ready.
That's not too dissimilar, though, the setup there, what you're saying about him going to the Euros, taking a break, then coming into the race, and this to what we were saying earlier about people coming at it from different angles. He's focused on the Euros, he's got that boxed off. I've had a little bit of a break, had a good run over Christmas, like training wise. Like you say, he's not gonna turn up to this if he's not running well.
And a mental break doesn't. Let's not confuse a mental break with doing no training.
Like,
if you're in good shape, you know it's like, especially if you're mid-season or whatever.
Yeah.
If you tick along, you don't need to hit every session as hard as you want and wallop everything. Yeah. Tick along, he's still going to be in great shape as long as he's not had any issues injury-wise, which obviously we've not heard of. But if he comes out, it's going to be, I mean, the course record, that sub 29:30 is definitely going to be on.
Yeah, I mean, so
does he?
I think he just knows how to win.
Yeah, and I don't think he's fearless as well, is he?
Yeah,
he goes for it.
Yeah.
So I think it is going to end up as a big battle, though. I mean, the other local, really, really big name we talked about at Jarrow, about Cameron Allen, and in the end he didn't run for whatever reason, but he's coming into some great form.
He's in great form, yeah.
So he ran it's only like a local cross-country league, but to win the local like cross-country league around here, there's some good runners, and he won by 90 seconds. So he sat in for the first, at least I think it's a 3-lap race, and he just sat in for the first lap.
Was it the Sherman Cup?
Yeah, sat in for the first lap, and then just stuck the boot in and put 90 seconds into some like really good runners. So I feel like we said last time that he came back from America and like hadn't totally like replicated that form, and it would take a little bit of a while to like readjust. And I remember watching the European cross country trials, and he was right up there early on and then sort of faded back off. And I was watching thinking like, he's obviously got like the class, but he just needs a little bit of like time to readjust to like the UK season. And it looks like that's happened now. And I mean, 28:37. He and Callum, I think, might have identical PBs over 10k.
Yeah, they do.
Cameron is faster 1500 metre runner, but like you've mentioned before, Callum is like extremely strong, 2:13 marathon guy. So they're coming at it from a different angle, but there's some real class in the field there. Yeah,
I mean, Joe Armstrong as well from Sunderland Harriers. I've trained with Joe before. He's a great athlete. 14:12. 5k PB. I know Joe, he's predominantly a 1500 metre runner, so to run 14:12 on a 5k in Barcelona the other week. Again, great performance, he's in great shape. I think you'd like to think of a 14:12 5k performance, you could potentially go sub 30 minutes 10k.
Yeah, so Jarrow was his first 10k, and to run, so he ran 30:40 there off the back of a 1500 season, and October is like a little bit of it's quite close to the track season.
Yeah, it is. You just
got
had a break. Yeah, exactly. And you just, you for a track runner, unless like you're targeting like the cross or something like that, you're nowhere near at that point. So it'll be interesting to see what shape he's coming into it with.
Like Joe for this 5k as well, he said to me that he went out quite hard through the first half and then slowed, shall we say, in the second. I'll not embarrass him with any stats, but he said it was quite a big like positive split, which 1500 runners kind of fall into that trap. Like I definitely fell into that trap loads of times over 5k. You feel so comfortable in the first mile and a half, and then the wheels just come off because you're used to a different type of feeling of that like lactate building up. But if he can run like conservative through the first half, he's got the speeds in his legs from the summer. If he gets it right, he could absolutely he could nail it and cause a big upset, I think.
Again, the depth, obviously, there's a number of runners here in the elite field for the men. I think the good thing is that there will be people battling it out for the front, but not every one of the elite field will be at the front, especially if Callum goes off like he did at Jarrow and sort of mortars away. I think the good thing about that is for someone like Joe and the 1500 metre runners and people maybe who don't usually run 10Ks is that rather than falling into that trap, they kind of will have an idea of who's in what sort of form. Like I said, it's January, people are starting to show the cards, so you can kind of figure out where people are, engage where you should roughly be. If this maybe is your first 10K or this is your first couple of times you ran one. So
yeah, and you said that Callum runs hard races, but we've got a guy coming over from Uganda who's based in the UK at the moment, and he was sixth in the Ugandan 5k champs in 2021, 2022, 13:50. Doesn't look like exceptional on paper from what I can find on like the World
There's
Athletics.
not much though. Like
there's not much stuff going.
There.
But his agent, who is a friend of mine, said, he's definitely in sub 29 shape, and I don't know many East Africans who don't go off really, really hard.
Yeah.
So if Callum goes off hard, likelihood like that this Dennis is going to go off really hard with him.
Yeah.
I don't think Cameron Allen's one to hang around, and it just means there's an opportunity for a lot of people to get pulled around. We've got some other guys in here who are like absolutely class on their day, and if they can follow a group like that and return to form, it is quite open. Like Sam Stabler, you've trained with Sam,
former training partner of mine,
so
a friend of mine. If he's in great shape, then I've trained with Sam personally. He doesn't hang around either. I mean, look at his personal best.
I was going to say, you just look at the PBs that we're looking at there for this field, and like the quality. There's 11, 12 athletes on there that I think the slowest time on is 30 minutes and 41 seconds for 10k. That's insane depth.
And that's a guy who's ran 14:12 last week, right? So,
yeah, exactly. So
these
times are going to go anyway, but it's just quality athlete after quality athlete on that list there.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a right old ding dong at the front, and I think it's gonna be very quick.
Yeah, I think the guys who are coming from like further afield, they're coming for a reason. Like, then you don't just sign up to do a race like at the other end of the country potentially for some of these guys. Might be sounding extreme there, but for example, like Jordan Rowe is a 14:02 guy from a few years ago. Hasn't been firing on all cylinders for a couple of seasons, really, when you look at like race results and stuff on Power 10, but he just ran 8:15 indoors. I've ran indoors. You've got, like 8:15 indoors. You've got to be going well.
And he's under Lewis Moses' watch as well, isn't he? So, and a few of his other runners, Lewis's other runners, are in good form as well. So I can imagine if you often see sometimes maybe the whole stable is kind of performing well, and John's came out and ran 8:15. I'm sure he'll improve on that. Everyone improves sort of in that early season, but you'd expect him to be in good shape.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Jonathan Escalante-Phillips coming up as well from Cambridge. Like, so he has sort of flirted with the longer distances this winter. I've seen he won a Bath half marathon,
64.
Yeah, and also ran pretty well at Telford. Not as fast as his PB, but if you've just run a half marathon 6 weeks after, could have been feeling that in his legs a bit because he is a sub 14 guy.
Yeah.
But if you add them, if you sort of equate those things together, he's got 13:56 5k. He's winning a half marathon. I don't know how fast Bath is as a course, but that indicates to me like this is another guy who could be knocking on the door of going under 29, especially if you've got this like front group development.
So who's his coach, Jonathan's coach?
I'm not sure actually, but yeah, there's a very good team from Cambridge at the minute now. They compete really well on the national relays and stuff now.
If he's from that again, same with Jordan. If he's from that training group, then which I don't know right now, but probably we'll find that out before the race. But I'm pretty sure that again he'll be in great shape as well. So
you have to do more research, mate, won't you? Before
I'll have my notepad out again. Don't worry.
That's the thing, you can as well, you know, we're looking all for victim of looking into times too much as well.
Yeah.
For me, what is like a standout sign, something you've touched upon there, you've got people travelling from like Cambridge area, they're travelling to come up here at a race. You're going to be backing yourself a little bit thinking, I've got something in my locker here, I've got something to give on that day that's, you know, I might not win it, but I'm gonna put the performance in, because you're not going to travel that far if you just think, I'm in all right, Nick.
It's nice to see Dan Dixon as well moving over from triathlon, giving it a go.
So, well, you've just said there, don't focus on time. Like a guy who is a GB triathlete, he's exceptional athlete, but we don't know much about him running wise, other than a couple of times. But the times I have actually seen him race, he's won looking good.
Yeah.
So, he's another one who is like there's so many of the GB triathletes now are just smashing out like great times for 10k.
Oh yeah,
and he's another one who if he gets it right on that day, he could get right up and like shock a few people who got like,
I agree, yeah.
who's this other triathlon guy? Like,
someone else that you've said we don't know a lot about, Dan Dixon, but someone we do know a lot about, John Beattie.
Yeah, John.
I thought you were going to say someone else.
Well, we do know him. I'll bring him in later. But John Beattie just consistently churning out them quick sub 30 10Ks year on year. Experienced head on him.
I think he'd put some posts out on social media about, I think 15 years back to back pretty much of sub 30 is what he was going for, and maybe might have been just outside last year with like 30:05. He ran in November, but I had a check and he's ran like I think 8 times between 14:30 and 14:40 over 5k. So he's going well. Like you're not mugging around to do that.
I was at Sheffield track, and he was blazing around it. I think he's got a good shout.
How old is he?
35.
Is he 35?
So he's just be 35 now. So obviously he's been on the scene a long time. Was in the Commonwealth. Well,
don't say that.
Well, he's joking. Oh, he's joking. But
that makes me 50.
He's been on the scene for ages, though.
Yeah. So he's PB
sign of a good athlete. Taking his compliment, John.
PB was from 2011. He's 28-32 when he went to the like Commonwealth Games and stuff, but he's still right up there and he's really competitive all the time. There's a few others who we hadn't mentioned on that list there who have got quick times or are coming into some good form. So like Alex Brown on there, who's local Morpeth Harrier, so he is like 29-37 at best. Has been a little bit off from the summer onwards because he'd started doing teacher training, so he'd said he's just sort of struggled to balance it, got a bit ill and stuff, but he's starting to get back into racing.
Well.
Yeah, he is strong.
So when he's got pace as well, he's like a 350. He's still really young, and he could. It would be a good one to get. Basically, it'd be a good one to sort of jump back up, especially if he's had school holidays, probably recovered a bit. And then go on. Then you can mention mention your boy.
It's our boy Larry Mack.
Yeah,
Lawrence McCart. Come on, Larry. You've got to get this one. This is yours, mate. This is yours.
The dark horse.
Yeah, new coach. Yeah. Big name on the Northeast and international circuit. None other than Laura Waitman.
Yeah, so we mentioned last time that like Larry was pretty much uncoachable. So good luck, Laura, and like taking him on. But he's been sticking to it. He obviously respects Laura enough to not like ignore everything that she's said. But now he's trying to get a really consistent training program now, and he's had he's just one of these guys who most people who are watching this will be going like, who he's on about. He come from like literally nowhere, just did no training for 10 years. Well, training, but just like random, and then just decided to get back into it, take it seriously, and just took chunks off his time and he was third in Jarrow, and then he's fourth in the Quayside. Big upset, beating one of the really good Kenyan guys, and then after Jarrow then went on to run 30:07 at Abidash, and then has done a few cross countries and ran really well. So if he continues on that progression, he should be one who's like under 30 and hopefully can get pulled around something really fast.
So even if he doesn't win, he's getting some big shout out from us, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, of course.
So is that
hometown hero.
Laura's greatest ever record that she's been able to coach Lawrence McCall?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when Mourinho does that interview saying like his greatest achievement was making Man United finish second. Like Laura's greatest achievement is getting Larry to do a week of training according to the schedule. And then we've got there's 3 sort of standouts on the ladies' side that we can discuss, and I think this is going to be. I mean, on paper, again, we shouldn't be looking too much on paper, but it looks like we're going to have somebody really going for the target times, and then we're going to have a really strong northeast ding dong battles between 2 like super evenly matched ladies in the area.
We reviewed this. We reviewed this earlier. You weren't here, you were late. But we were saying that we've got Sophie Pikett, and I was saying to you, what stands out about her to me is just it's winning. Everything she's running in, she's winning. So like that confidence that you get as an athlete, your mindset changes because you win something. You think, all right, that's how you win something. I know what that feels like. Then you go through the motions in the next race. All right, I've won again, and it just builds and builds and builds. So then anyone that comes at you with anything, you just sort of get this mindset where you're like, well, I'll deal with this because I know how to win. So she's just got that momentum there that's gonna that I'll be thinking, you win that many races on the trot, you're like, well,
it becomes second nature, isn't it?
It
it's like brushing your teeth. You get up, if someone like that who's winning every week or every month, let's say, you come in, you've been there before.
Yeah.
You in your mind, you're expecting to win, so it becomes normal, and then you're almost.
Yeah, we know what it's like. Chris probably won't.
Don't worry, Chris.
Yeah, and he's picking up a few victories in the C races. I'm enjoying Chris.
This is where we need to flash them Athletics Weekly's covers up on the wall, or mine and yours anyway.
Actually, have you had a front cover Athletics Weekly?
The odd one out.
Get these cut.
I'll tell you what, I'll bring you mine when the race is on. You can have a read over it.
So in terms of Sophie, when I looked on her Power of 10, she'd won in December, she'd won in November, she'd won in October twice, she'd won in September, and she'd won in a 1500 still in August. So you're right, she's kept that winning streak going. So yeah, she's going to be tough to beat on a local level. And her and Jasmine Woods. So Jazz, she's younger, so she's up and coming England International. She ran 9:32 early last year in Armagh, and then has just done a PB like yesterday. So she's run 9:30 now. So those two have got an even match over 3k PBs and over 10k. There's 2 seconds in between them, right? So it's gonna. So they're both obviously. Sure, you've got Sophie's just relentlessly winning races, but then Jasmine is. So they're both in PB shape, and sharp because it's indoors.
That's a really intriguing one to watch play out with them two. See how they both take to the race, what like tactics they're both going to be thinking about, like employing on the day, but then also like that end result. 2 seconds difference. It's like it's now it's over 10k, so that's really intriguing to watch them.
It would be great if they ended up getting the target time as well, and actually got the cash. It would be a jump, but they would obviously deserve it, and they've got the conditions, especially because it's a mixed race. So they're going to be hopefully able to like latch onto a group of some blokes and get even more shielding. But I do think the notable mention above that is Emily Kearney, who was second at Ribble Valley. So she's in great form, but she was second in Ribble Valley off the back of a 2:35 marathon in Valencia only a few weeks earlier. So that's bound to have been in the legs, and she's coming up from Liverpool. She's got a much stronger PB at 33:09, and you would think if she's you can never tell how long it takes to recover from the marathon, and you get like ups and downs. Not that I've done it myself, I've just heard of it, but yeah, you would think by January.
What did she run at Ribble Valley?
I can't remember the time. I would have to flash it up, but she was second at Ribble Valley.
To that, though. I'm sure it was close. I did score the results a little bit, and I'm sure it was. But yeah, like I say, she's coming second at Ribble Valley, and I mean, like we've already talked about, the fields there are very strong. Yeah. So to do that a couple of weeks after a marathon, I'm pretty sure that'll be out of the legs. Well, you'd like to think so by the end of sort of January time. So yeah, I think again maybe she'll think, you know what, I'm still getting back into training myself, still building back up after maybe a short break. It could end up with a 3-way race, which is again very exciting because it's not 34 on paper, 34:30 may be almost 90 seconds. It might seem like quite a lot, but it's all circumstantial, isn't it? It depends on. They've got two ladies that are in form. I mean, obviously Emily is in form.
Yeah, on form and winners. So yeah, if
all relative.
Yeah, if say Sophie and Jasmine are on an exceptional day, and there's still the marathon in the legs of Emily, you're right, that 90 seconds very quickly turns into a much closer gap. And if they're in vision, and it's a straight line in vision, if there's a following wind, for example, which there's quite likely to be, so that last 2.5k you're more than likely to have a following wind because the wind's usually downstream. It could be an upset and a really tight one. I'm going to get used to nearly a colour to the mast now, so we need a quick fire men's and women's winner, tongue twister, and the winning times.
Do you want to go first since you haven't got an Athletics Weekly front cover?
So you can, are you sure?
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on. I got it right. I got it right last time as well. So I don't want you copying my answer.
Do you want to flick back onto the men's so I can maybe talk through?
Yeah, just a quick fire. Go on. Who's your men's winner?
I'm going to put down for the men's winner. I'm gonna go Cal. I think he's reliable. Callum Johnson. He's always in form, isn't he? I definitely think Cal Mallon's going to be there. But this is purely based off pre-Christmas of what Callum's achieved.
Yeah.
I can't see his form dwindling too much at all. So
I'm with him 100%. I'm backing him again. Strong as an ox.
Who do you think
knows how to
win?
win?
What about
I
you?
mean, I want to sit on the fence, obviously, as organising, but I was really impressed with what I heard about Cameron Allen at the weekend. So
Yeah,
I feel
know.
like he's due a massive one, and I mean, there's so many names that could be thrown in the ring there, but
you could make a case for the majority of them on the list how they could win it.
Winning time.
I'm going sub 29, like.
Yeah, I'm going to say 28-40.
I'm going Callum Johnson 28-48. Romping it.
I'll do 28-55.
Yeah, let's hope it's some good weather then.
Yeah.
And then for the girls, I think it's an obvious shout for like the standout winner. So let's nail your colours to the mast for the Northeast battle.
Northeast battle. Do you want me to go
Well,
first this time?
Go first, ladies first.
Toss of a coin, this one.
I know. I'm going to stick with what I like is people winning races, right? She's got that form, so I'm going Sophie Pikett for the win, just because she knows how to do it.
Okay, I'll do the opposite hand then. I'll do Jazz Wood because I think I watched her run the 3K. I was there, and I seen that she was in no man's land and run it all on her own. So it's not like she was dragged around to 9:30. I think 34-32 will definitely go down.
It's got inside knowledge. I wasn't at
Sheffield. it'll be a great battle, and
I think it will be. Yeah, I think it'll be down.
I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, but I think winning time. Obviously, I think Emily's gonna romp it, and she sounded confident from my discussions with her. So that's my inside
again
info.
coming up from Liverpool.
I really want to see a fast time. Well, the thing is, I want to see the girls' field develop as well. So we've had more interest on the men's side, despite obviously I've tried my best to speak to as many people as I can on both sides and speak to coaches and agents and stuff. But it would be great if we got a really fast women's winning time, and then the next race we have a big group, or a much bigger group.
Yeah, because you're right. It's a smaller pool. It's not there yet, but the idea of this is that it grows, and then when it does get there, I think
that'll change though. I think that's going to. I think that one of the big changing races will be Battersea. I think that, like I already said in one of the first slides, was that London races always attract a good field because the crowds, it's convenient, they can get there via public transport. People, I mean, I'm purely speaking of Highgate, and it is summer then, so people do sit and enjoy a drink, but people just enjoy going and watching, and I think that I think you will see, even in the 5K Battersea, based on the fact of previous times that have been run there, that you would expect definitely a change around. Because you did reach out to a lot of
exactly.
So,
but we just got to keep building, and on watching the podcast and the other stuff, we might get more by the day, which is great. I'm going to say, just looking at what the course record bonus is, I'm going to go optimistic and say 32-44. Let's get that course record bonus.
Ooh,
it would be a big. It's
going to be a big ass.
24-second PB,
it's a mixed
that.
field as well. 32-41.
Oh, here we
That's
go.
your winning time.
I think it's difficult. I think it depends on the conditions. But like I said, it is sheltered, and you are running with the men. So you hopefully, as long as you don't get trapped in no man's land, you're going to have somebody to hopefully drag you around. So I think just outside, maybe. I think the potential's there, but we don't know where the training is, especially with just after marathon, maybe 32-59.
Oh,
lots
of bonuses still getting going.
Exactly, still pay out though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us again, and we'll hear some.
Not bother at all, Chris.
Yeah,
can't wait.